Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, this is Alex Bradley from Anything Geeky Reviewed, and today I am bringing you a video review of Divinity Original Sin, and this will be going along with our written article. Please just enjoy the opening music. There we go. Okay, I am commentating on this with some pre-recorded footage, so I've already had the characters set up with their names, what I thought I'd want for their names anyway. This is basically, we're just going through the different character customization options. You have to have two characters in Divinity Original Sin. Obviously, if you play multiplayer or co-op, then your other partner will take control, and I presume they get to customise their choice of character. If you're playing single player, then obviously you have to have both characters because the whole story revolves around two characters. Two main characters for the story, but you then get to customize both characters to your liking. I think you can have two males and two females if you want, but a standard game usually consists of one male and one female. So I'm just going through here checking the settings. Each character is set up depending on what class they are. You can customize each class. So you can pick something like a wizard or a cleric or a warrior and customise what skill sets they start off with. We'll check out the skills later on when we level up later on during the game. You can change the character profile portrait that you'll be seeing throughout most of the game. You'll also be able to change the whether you want the character to have any kind of inbuilt AI during combat. If you don't obviously want to control them, then you can get somebody else to. You can also change the hair colour, the hair length, all the kind of usual things. It's not an advanced character creator, but it does the job. So let's get on with it.
A few brave source hunters are all that stand between Rivalon and the dark power that threatens to destroy it. Wherever source appears, hunters follow.
So yeah, that's the a sneak peek of the story there, the intro. I am using footage right from the beginning of the game. I didn't want to give anything away later on, so I thought I might as well use something that you're all going to enjoy. This is basically the beginning area where you're going to start exploring. You're going to find a few occasional items and boxes to break. You've even got a bit of humour even this early on with this running comment now.
What's it doing here alone?
What, did you expect it to have an entourage?
Curses upon them, source hunters!
And here we go. This is one of the first fights you will encounter. This is a wizard or some kind of enemy that is actually running away from you. He's stolen something with his acolytes, and he's trying to keep it by distracting you long enough to keep you busy. Combat in Divinity is quite interesting. It's very different from many other games. It sort of kind of goes back to the old age of Fallout, where you have movement points or action points, and each kind of turn you can reserve those action points for next turn to do more advanced moves, or you can use them all in one turn. Obviously, health points, health potions, skills, just normal combat will all use different amounts of skill points, or action points as they call it in this, depending on how powerful that ability is, and of course moving also requires a certain amount of action points. Spells and ranged combat require a line of sight. As you can see, when you cast a spell there, you see like a kind of an arc, a line towards your enemy. You have to be able to view or see your enemy, or have a line of sight to be able to hit them with direct weapons. For melee, obviously you need to be up close and personal. For anything else, usually you can set it off via proximity, and you can kind of get a bit of AoE damage with certain spells. So we're just going to enter this dungeon here, which is again the first dungeon of the game. Oh, and we've skipped ahead a bit, and this is actually one of the little traps. You come across poisonous clouds, but you can use fireballs actually to ignite them. It's fantastic, obviously, if you can get your enemy in there. It does hurt them, the poison itself, but obviously the explosion is quite deadly. This is how sorry, excuse me. This is how they actually hide quite a lot of chests and goodies behind little traps like that, and you have to figure out how to get past them. just giving you different glimpses really. This is a bit of stealth at the moment. You press C on the keyboard and you can stealth your character. Now you usually have to stealth both characters before proceeding, or you can unlink the characters and they won't follow each other. This is great actually for getting a drop on the enemy. As you can see, we're about to light some oil under some skeletons and give us a advantage. Combat again is it's turn-based with the action point system, but it's also done similar to, if anybody remembers the old Grandia games, where each character has their own turn, and depending on their speed and agility and things like that, depends on how fast their turn comes around. I'm presuming that you will eventually get enemies that can be a lot quicker than you, and can probably get 2 or 3 turns in for your one. I haven't come across anything like that yet. And there we go. This is first sort of boss type character. Skeleton comes out from the kind of grave. He thinks you're the one that stole they think it's kind of a rock or a pendium, I think. Something like that. It's actually the guys that you chased off earlier. But he doesn't quite believe you, so unfortunately you fight. Now this is kind of an early look at the text or kind of adventure part of the game where you converse with your opponents. Some of the game is voiced, as you've heard during the game, but most of the actual speech is just via normal text. Luckily enough, you don't get bogged down too much with that, and you do kind of get the main brisk of things usually. Each character has actually a different set of skills, as you can see here. I've got I think it's a wizard and a ranger. The wizard obviously relies a lot more on elemental weapons and spells, so he can actually make it rain. He can obviously use fireballs. He can use lightning, poison, that sort of thing. The beauty of the wizard and even rangers and other characters is they can all use their environment against the enemy. Now I'll show you some of that in a second when we come across some environment to use. At the moment we're just fighting them kind of standard. So you can see it's all turn based. It's pretty good. It's on normal default difficulty, so it's not ridiculously difficult. We did have an issue where originally in the beta it was very, very hard, but they've now fixed that, and obviously there is now a difficulty level, so we can always change it up a little bit if you think it's a bit too hard and just enjoy the story. That can be changed, I think, in the menu options. I'm just going to quickly talk about the graphics for a second. The graphics are actually pretty good. They don't look particularly fantastic at the moment because they're running on my machine. It's a little dated, and it actually had a few little slowdowns during recording. It couldn't quite keep the frame rate up, but it's not the game's fault. It's just the fact that my actual game machine is it's getting on a little bit. It's at least 4, if not 5 years old now, and it has done its fair bit of work. It wasn't exactly top of the line when it first came out, so I do apologise for the graphics. The graphics, if you take a couple looks at different videos on YouTube, you will see that the graphics is actually quite exquisite. The level of detail on the game is lovely. As kind of Larian Studios usually is pretty good with the graphical detail on their games. If you remember the last Divinity game, which was Dragon Commander, the graphics were pretty good. They were a little bit bland, but overall they were pretty good for a strategy game. So they do put their effort into the game. As you can see, by holding Alt down actually on the game, you can see items on the floor. That's actually really useful. This is actually the inventory as well. You start off with a few basic items like potions and backpacks. You can move items between characters simply by dragging it over their profile. And you can obviously, you've got your inventory bit above where you equip your weapons. You can of course read books. Books in this aren't simply bits of text. They actually do help you learn recipes and improve your skills, usually at crafting. They usually tell a bit of history of the world, and there's actually quite a lot of information to be had just from the books you'll find within the world. Yeah, we're looking at the different weapons we've got. Yeah, I do wish the inventory system did change when you change character, but it does not. I'm hoping that's something they will patch later on in the game. I think I should be done with that now. And we've just got outside, finished. I am skipping bits because I don't want to spoil it all. There are traps and little bits and pieces in between. Got two NPCs talking here, they're quite funny.
Come, give here before I sober up.
The NPCs are quite humorous. Even your pair of characters are quite funny when it comes to talking. They just seem to kind of enjoy themselves. The actual writing for the game is pretty good, and the voice acting is very, very good. It's quite enjoyable to listen to. Obviously casts of voice actors who actually seem to be enjoying their job, and they all do quite a nice job of showing it during the game. It shows through on their performances quite well. The main characters are quite good. You do have a choice of voices when you do customise your character. I'm presuming that those voices are fully voiced all the way through the game, a bit like Neverwinter Nights or something like that, but obviously they never had the same extent of voice acting as modern games can put in nowadays. These guys have just let us pass. We're on our way to the city to find to basically investigate a murder. This is one of our first big fights, actually. I think actually I've put this footage in because I've actually lost this fight. Even though I try and use my kind of terrain to my advantage, I do lose this fight. Now in a minute you'll actually see. Oh, there we go. That's the one of the skills that the ranger has, which allows her to bounce arrows between targets. We're just putting a bit of oil down. Oil is actually one of the few terrain kind of enhancements you can put down. It basically allows you to set things on fire, which is always wonderful. You get oil within barrels, or you can place it down as the wizard. Now, obviously it's a little bit slow to place down. It only encompasses small little areas, so it's not always best, but if you can trap an enemies coming into like a kind of little causeway where they can't kind of get anywhere else, then it's a fantastic way of at least damaging the enemies. Sometimes with the weaker enemies you can actually kill them quite easily using oil to your advantage. Now oil isn't the only material you can use to your advantage. You can actually use water. Water can be electrified with a lightning bolt of some kind, and that will actually stun anybody within it, which is a fantastic use of water and lightning. There we go, just lit the oil up and set them all on fire. Now every time they walk through that, they will receive some serious damage, and anything in it will continuously burn. So it's a fantastic way of certainly weakening tough enemies, and it actually slows them down quite a lot. Even oil on its own acts as kind of like a mud. It slows enemies down on just natural approaches. Here we are, just putting some more oil down to get some. That's the beauty of actual oil. Once you've lit it for a couple of turns, you can actually expand it using more oil puddles, which is really cool. Using a bit of a lightning bolt. But again, water and oil are not the only kind of terrain-based atmospheres, I suppose, that can be modified. You can have water, you can have oil, you can have the poisonous clouds, as we've seen. You can get them within barrels, and you can also get there's a fourth thing which I'm trying to remember right now. Bastard. Water, oil. I'm sure there's another one. It'll come to me in a second when we're battling these buggers. There we go, there's a poison arrow. And yeah, we don't survive this battle. I end up letting them get a bit too close, and my guys take too much damage and don't heal themselves. So they do end up dying, unfortunately. Now this is just one of the smaller kind of main battles, just on the way to the city actually. As I'll show you in a bit of clip later on, you do actually get some allies who help. You've got a shaman back there who's healing those guys and keeping them at full health, which is why it's imperative sometimes to take the shamans out if you can. They do a lot more effect than the normal damage takers, really. Oh yeah, oil, water and gas, and I'm sure there's another one. I know you can make it rain. That's one of these skills that the wizard can actually do. You can make it rain, so if you need to put out fire, you can do that. And while it's raining, any electricity spells don't necessarily need water underneath the enemy to trigger, but as long as an enemy is wet during the rain, they can actually still be stunned using lightning. It just can't affect multiple targets usually, unless of course you've got a broader lightning spell. There we go. Managed to kill some of them, but they're still coming, unfortunately. Orcs in this game are very, very tough targets. They do take quite a lot of damage, which is a nice refresher. It's nice to see enemies actually taking some damage for change rather than being far too easy, which can happen quite often. One of the things you can probably see in our toolbar below is a water rain spell. You've got two options of spells. You can learn spells. You have to have the skills to be able to learn the spell. Once you've learned it, as long as you have the action points, you can learn it as many times, or use it as many times as you want. And then you have scrolls, which do cost action points still, but you can use them no matter what. There we go, we just died. We got our asses whooped. There we go, we've got some AI characters just further down that are actually beating the crap out of an orc. So it's nice to see that actually the AI characters around you will help with combat. We've just gone up a level, so here's the skill system. We've actually got two different skill points we can use. One into our kind of basic stats. We can kind of increase our strength, our constitution, our agility, our dexterity, those sorts of basic stats that affect most of our basic weapons and skills. And then we've got another tab here which actually shows the different skills that our characters can learn. Now all these skills are exactly the same for every character. What the difference is with the classes is what they start off with. Now obviously a wizard starts off with more magic orientated spells already placed in, and obviously a higher intelligence, while the ranger in this will start with more weapon and sneaky classes. And I've noticed that the ranger actually has quite a lot of crafting skills as well. They have about 3 points already in crafting compared to the wizard, which has nothing. So that's actually quite kind of interesting for a ranger. Obviously by levelling these skills up you gain access to more skills. Now by levelling things like the sneaky skills, as they call them, or the dirty skills I think it was, you can basically pick locks a lot more efficiently. You've got a better chance of doing a pickpocketing and that sort of thing. But actually by levelling the weapon skills like the magic spells, if you put 2 or 3 points within a magic, like say fire or healing or water, that actually allows you to use more advanced spells. So obviously the more points you put in it, the more advanced spells you can unlock when you can find a shop to buy them from. You can find them to kind of learn, I believe, but it's quite rare to actually find a spell. You usually have to buy them off the shopkeepers. Here we go, we're just pressing Alt again to find the items on the map, and I think we're going to search a couple of the nearby bodies, but there isn't a lot in them. You can search most bodies, but occasionally ones will not be searchable. Not necessarily that don't have anything on them, because you can find empty bodies that are searchable. It's just not every body can be searched. A weird conundrum, but there it is. So just after this we'll be heading into the city at last, and we'll give you a quick look at the city. Here's the guy that meets us at the gates and discusses, basically saying thank you for helping them out, and good time for you guys to arrive, really. At the end of the day, you guys are I think it's not soul hunters as such, but you basically look out for dark magic. If you see dark magic somewhere, it raises your suspicions, because obviously dark magic has caused a lot of chaos in the world, and I think it's currently running the orcs amok. So your job is to basically try and make sure that is kept under control. We've just got a little portal here. Obviously it's the only portal we've activated at this point, but we can obviously unlock more portals around the world which allow you to have a fast trigger system. This is actually one of the morality choices coming up now. We've got a man who basically he's hungry and he doesn't have any money. He's come across hard times. He's not a bad man in particular if you ask him about what his life's been like. It's just he's come across hard times and he doesn't have any money. Now you actually got a choice. You can either let him have the fish, or you can basically say, sorry mate, but that merchant has to eat as well, and what he sells is what he can use to buy food for his own family. So it's actually kind of like a morality choice there. Obviously you just saw that both characters get their input into the decision. It's not just one character, so obviously it's co-op, then you get the choice between whether you help them or not, and that sort of morality choice actually leaves its mark, as you can see. Obviously the more morality choices you choose give you more morals and kind of characteristics, really. That makes it quite cool and nice, and at the end of the game, or near the end, you can actually see the differences. This is going to be showing you the shop, and then we're going to be done. Actually, I didn't want to show too much. I just wanted to give you an idea of the game. So this is actually one of the shops. This is where you buy spells and the more magical items for wizards and witches. Obviously these spells I can't get at the moment because I don't have the skills to get them at the moment. Obviously the more I advance my skills, the more spells I can unlock. There's quite a lot of different spells, from frost touch to rain to fireball spells, thunder spells, the usual kind of lot, but there's some nice different enhancements in there, including teleport spells and different skill sets that make the game a little bit unique. I actually tried selling some items here, but unfortunately the merchant doesn't have any gold on them, so that doesn't work out very well. A bit weird having a merchant that doesn't have any gold, but you know, what could you do? So I'm going to call it an end on this. Thank you guys for joining, or ladies and gentlemen, for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video review, and if you have, we'll try and do some more for our videos. Thank you for joining us, and good day.